And I start off by congratulating him and congratulating his team for a well-constructed budget, and notes that as part of this budget, investment in the national infrastructure is a top priority. The budget allocated to the Ministry of Infrastructure and Transport for 2018-19 was 165.2 million, and for the 29 to 20 budget, this now stands at 89.6 million, with a total allocation of 12.8 million for the Ministry of Disaster Management and Meteorological Services. This budget is a work-smart budget. Work smart because it requires brains, it requires innovativeness, it requires a strong team to be able to implement it. It's a budget to achieve a balance between expenditure, revenue, investment returns, public and private engagements, and prioritizing long and short-term needs. Prioritizing. We have heard already from the members of this side who talked about that everybody knows that there's a global slowdown. Everybody knows this. IMF has talked about it. The World Bank has talked about it. The Reserve Bank talks about it. A lot of the global slowdowns in the past, one of the reasons that we've been able to get past these global slowdowns in the past, because they have not affected our major trading partners. This one is. It's affecting the States, it's affecting New Zealand, it's affecting Australia, and when that happens, that impacts on us. And the impacts of this we're beginning to see from last year until now, and it continues to go on. Things are getting tougher, and this government realized that, so what do? We adjust. We adjust. We adjust what we're doing according to the situation that we find ourselves in. Let me tell you, when I first came to the ministry that I'm in now, I looked at some of the APA, the assessments that they did for their staff. I looked at one very senior staff, and they said, what's this guy's assessment of his performance? He said his assessment was 113% of what you're supposed to achieve. Then I looked at his budget. What was his, how well did he use his budget? His budget, amount of budget that he used was only 78% of the budget that he was supposed to use. So I have 78% of the budget, 113% performance. How can that be? Something's wrong. It tells us that we need to fix the systems. Either the targets are wrong or there's too much fat in the budget. Either the targets are wrong, listen, you might learn something. Either the targets are wrong or there's too much fat in this budget. This budget will allow us to eliminate all the fat. And it requires a special team to be able to do that, and this is the team that will deliver that for the people of this country. We have the brains, we have the character, we have the creativity, the innovation to be able to deliver that. So watch and learn. We know that in any organization, any country, it's not just about looking at people, it's looking at process and system. That's why I was appalled, Mr. Speaker, sir, when the Honorable Nawai Kula was asked, what is your alternate budget? You know what his reply was? Sack the Minister of Economy, sack the Prime Minister. His first solution is to blame somebody. First solution is to blame somebody. If you've ever run an organization in your life, you will know that 80% of the problems and 80% of the solutions come from fix the process and fix the system. And that is what we are going to do. Look at the process. I would recommend to the Honorable Leader of the Opposition, please take the people that are sitting in the front here, move them to the back. Move Linda up to the front, and that group, you know why? Because Linda at least suggested something that are useful. This lot, their alternate budget is absolute, here's a new word for you, bollocks. Bollocks. Absolute bollocks. That's what it's all about. The Honorable Tumbuya. As I was listening to the debate, I might not talk too much about my ministry today, but I was listening to some of the things that the Honorable Ngarengere Tumbuya asked. She asked, what is going to be the legacy of this government? What is going to be the legacy of this government? Let me tell you what the legacy of this government is going to be. The Honorable Leader of the Opposition asked us to consider the servicemen, the people who give their lives in service of this nation. What has this government under this leader done for the servicemen of this country? What has it done? What has it done? We have had servicemen that have been serving our country in the wars, World War I, World War II, they went to Malaya, they went to Christmas Island, they got involved in the aftercare fund. All the military people who came into government, prime ministers, they did not do anything until Honorable Bainimarama fixed and allowed them to enter into the aftercare fund in 2008. No other government had done that. He looked after the people that are in the service sector, the servicemen. People used to get injured in Lebanon. Nobody would make sure that they got workers' compensation. Nobody. Nobody did that. All the people that had been in the military come to government, nobody did until he fixed the workers' compensation in the 2012. 2012, members of the military had been injured or hurt in the Middle East. They began to get the compensation that they need. That is going to be the legacy of this government. We look after the servicemen of this country. From 2000, the location allowance used to be only $30. Who changed that? When did it change? It changed under the Mining Marama government. Despite the fact that we have other prime ministers who came from the security services, none of them did that. That is one legacy that we have. We have one other legacy. What do we do? Other legacy that we have. What is the legacy that we have? Other legacies. I've heard here comments, Mr. Speaker, sir, that this government does not look after the poor. Bollocks! Absolute bollocks! Absolute hogwash! Absolute rubbish! That is absurd. Today in this country, when a woman becomes pregnant and she's living in a rural area and she cannot have access to food, she cannot pay for it, she can get food vouchers that helps her to get good food so that the baby that is growing inside of her becomes a healthy baby because she's eating good food. That has never happened before until this government came into place. And when she's about to give birth and she has no money to look after the baby, government gives her $1,000 for that baby. $1,000 to help her raise that baby up. When the baby is born, when the baby is about to go into primary school, there's $500 that is available. And as they're living at their home, they don't have a lot of economy, they don't have a lot of money, their water and their electricity is subsidized to make sure they can look after themselves. When they go to work, they realize now that their taxation rates, the taxation threshold has gone up to $30,000. So if she's getting $10,000 or $12,000 or $15,000 or $18,000 or $25,000, she does not pay a cent of income tax. That is what this government has done for the people of this country. That is going to be our legacy. Now when people go to early childhood, we are setting up early childhood centers all over the country, looking after the young of this country. Infant school, primary school, secondary school. Fees are not paid. Fees are not paid. You don't have to worry about the cost of your bus fare. This government is paying for the bus fare to make sure that every child in this country gets an education. That is going to be the legacy of this particular government. Tails and toppers. Earlier on, I heard the Honorable Leader of the Opposition said that under his government, they had actually introduced the national minimum wage. Absolute bollocks. Absolute bollocks. Yes, we used to have the wage regulation orders before, but the first national minimum wage was only introduced under this government. We had the wage regulation orders before, I believe that, I understand that, I know that. National minimum wage, there was nothing looking after the people working as babysitters, as farmers out in the village, nothing. It was not until this government came on board that that happened. So we've had a lot of these, all sorts of things that people have been talking about. The Honorable Leader of the Opposition talked about the building of that back road in Danarau. He said it cost $12 million per kilometer? $12 million per kilometer? That is correct. It did cost about $12 million per kilometer. But listen, hold on. Listen. Hold your horse. Hold your horse. Hold it tight, hold it tight, hold it tight. A total of $12 million is about right. But that is not just for the road. It includes land acquisition, utilities, side road works, lighting, traffic signals, pedestrian controls, and landscaping. And we looked at how much it cost. Underground cabling. We looked at how much it costs in Australia. In Australia, they are normally referenced, the urban roads in Australia can be from 3 to 5 million Australian dollars per lane kilometer. So a 4-lane road like the one we have there in Danarau can cost between, listen, 12 to 20 million Australian. 12 to 20. So I say once again, absolute bollocks. Absolute bollocks. The Honorable Tevita Naburelebu talked about the fact that some of the roads, Lambasa to Wenikoro, Sangani, Vaturawa, meeting Sub-Sub Road, the work there was only done way back in the 1990s. I say, what bollocks. Absolute bollocks. From the records that I hear, work has been going on. We've had the Wenikorom government, the tar sealing there, Daku Hill, the traction seal, Vatovanai Hill, all that work has been carried out. Honorable Nico Nawaikul has asked, how are we going to fix the potholes? We fix the potholes by assigning money in the budget for the potholes to be fixed. That's how we do it. We have $74.2 million being provided for renewals and replacement of roads. And at the same time, we are taking a stronger preventive approach to making sure that we don't have potholes in the first place. It's a proactive and preventive approach so that we can make sure the honorable members of Parliament on the other side, they can ride safely on the roads when they go home. Whether it's a bus or taxi or one of their limousines, they're fine. That's all going to happen. The Honorable Simone Rousseau has asked about jetties in Vunisea and Kavala need upgrading. Earlier on this year, there were repairs already done for Vunisea. I would like the Honorable Rousseau to know there's more money available here for Vunisea. And also, Mr. Speaker, sir, for Wainiambia also in Lakemba. This year, we will also have repairs there. Honorable Suliano Matentumbua said they have this lovely water source at Wainandoi, and there was no consultation with the landowners. He said that yesterday. Little does he know that consultation took place 2 weeks before that. Consultation has been undertaken, and now we are waiting for the consent of the landowners. Honorable Moses Mbulitavo complained about the fact that we are fining drivers because they are overloaded. We have had a lot. Do you know that the road to Vesindrua now is falling apart? Vesindrua now. Do you know why it's falling apart? Because overladen trucks were going across that road. We have to put a stop to this. We have to put a stop to this. If we do not limit the weight that we have on the trucks, it will mean that we will destroy the roads and the bridges that we have in this country. So many of our bridges are under attack because of that. We have $67.6 million that is allocated for the upgrade and replacement of bridges. My schoolmate and housemate and classmate, the Honorable Kurindani, has said that the budget has nothing on the island of Kandavu, and questions why 3 members of parliament from Kandavu, Honorable O'Connor, Honorable Korlavisau, and also me, since I'm a Kandavuan, did not influence the architect of the budget. Come on. Bollocks, bollocks, bollocks. In my ministry alone, my ministry, I'm not talking about fisheries or agriculture or education or health. My ministry, one ministry, the amount of money that you will be spending in Kandavu in the new budget is $6.1 million. That's just one ministry. If we add on all the others, it'll be a whole lot of money. So the people in Kandavu, they know this government, even though they voted for my schoolmate there, this government will serve everybody because we serve every single person in this country. We don't distinguish between race, color, where you are, whether you voted us or not. We are here to serve you. And you know, next time around when you come to elections, you know who to vote for. So I think I've exhausted that bit, Mr. Speaker, sir. Order. Well, it behooves us to move on. Mr. Speaker, sir. 24.8 million in the budget has been allocated towards improving accessibility, reliability and sustainability of energy services to all Fijians. We will extend the electric grid in order to improve access to electricity to nearly 1,800 households, affecting 9,000 individuals at a cost of $9.2 million. $3.2 million will be invested in house wiring initiatives for 3,000 households, benefiting 15,000 individuals. We have not forgotten the victims of the 2 major destructive cyclones, Winston and Kenya. $3 million has been allocated to continue rehabilitation works in areas damaged by these cyclones. The ministry is expanding effort and money to the tune of $5.4 million to install solar home systems, benefiting 3,253 homes and 16,000 individuals. $350,000 will be spent on upgrading the biofuel mills at Moala and Matuku. We intend to reduce fossil fuel using bioenergy sources by 3% by 2022. We intend to present the change in the way we do things and how it impacts the citizens of Fiji. With these upgrades and transitions towards renewable and sustainable energy sourcing, more families in Fiji will have access to electricity, contributing to their participation in the future green and blue economies of Fiji. Mr. Speaker, sir, even with a reduced budget, my ministry will be able to continue to provide electricity to the planned target of 5,000 homes per year. Working smart, we have engaged strategies at no additional cost to improve and enhance the conventional and renewable energy sourcing to complete ongoing projects for selected communities as promised in previous year's budget initiatives. Mr. Speaker, sir, another essential service to all citizens of Fiji is provisioning of clean water and access to wastewater systems. Under the 5 and 20-year Fiji National Development Plan, approximately 78% of Fiji's population has access to a treated and reticulated water supply, and 71% has access to improved sanitation. $807,900 has been provided to the Department of Water to ensure that the department is able to deliver its services throughout the year, and a further $258.7 million has been allocated to the Water Authority of Fiji. The specific water insurance projects that are part of the 1920 budget include approximately 300,000 Fijians shall benefit from the construction of the 40 megaliter new water treatment plant at Viria in Neitasiri. Construction of a 10 megaliter reservoir at Waitolu and the laying of 26 kilometers of pipe work. 52 billion will be invested on these projects with completion estimated by the year 2021. Approximately 285,000 Fijians will benefit from the 30.6 million that has been allocated to improve water quality supply as per the following projects. Construction of 5 water treatment plants, Waiwai and Deomba, Nangando, Gunindawan, Neitasiri, Sabsabu and Levuka, and Namau and Balibuto. Construction of 6 new reservoirs to increase bulk water storage in Nandi Hospital, Lautoka Hospital, Flaggers Avenue, Tadirua East, Taubangabangamba, and Lolombalabu in Nandi. 25.1 million has been allocated for the water distribution projects, which include hydraulic mains improvement projects for the replacement and duplication of aged pipes to reduce water loss. This also includes critical infrastructure upgrades to ensure that existing water articulation systems meets current water demands. 11.2 million has been allocated for the rural water supply projects, which include the construction of 32 rural water schemes nationwide to benefit 8,411 people, including villages, hospitals, and schools. This includes the maintenance of the EPS systems, desalination plants, and continuing work on the rural boreholes. 5 million has been allocated to continue with the rainwater harvesting programs, where eligible households get 5,000-liter water tanks. 4.1 million has been allocated for non-revenue water reduction programs, including leak detection, pressure management, service pipe replacement, and air and boundary valve replacement programs, with an effort to reduce non-revenue water further to 25% by the year 2021. 2 million has been allocated for meter replacement programs. 10.5 million has been allocated for Kinoa wastewater treatment plant upgrading works to increase the capacity of the plant and reduce odor, benefiting over 220,000 people. This also includes the design works for wastewater treatment plant upgrades of Natambua and Namara to increase loading capacity to cater for existing customers, and new upcoming subdivisions planned for nearby areas. 2.3 million has been allocated for emergency response contingencies. 8.6 million has been allocated for electrical upgrading projects. In addition to this, the ministry is developing an integrated water resource management plan as per the Work Smart initiative. This plan is slated to be completed by the year 2021. The responsibility to provide access to transportation for all Fijians is divided between the Fiji Roads Authority, the Land Transport Authority, and the Department of Transport and my ministry. This is through the provision of an efficient and sustainable transport network for the country. Between these agencies, 419 million has been allocated to the Fiji Roads Authority, 26.68 million to LTA, and 2.8 million to the Department of Transport. These three organizations will work together to plan and use these funds to achieve the overall objectives of the land transport sector for Fiji. To improve standard of existing road networks, some of the key highlights of FRA include 60 million on maintenance programs, 36.1 million on renewals and replacements of existing roads, 62.4 million on upgrading and replacement of bridges, 1.4 million on maintenance and renewals of jetties, 33.5 million on construction of footpaths and bus shelters and signage in peri-urban and urban areas, 8.7 million on street light improvement, 26.4 million on capital congestion and capacity improvements, and 52.3 million to expand and improve the rural and maritime areas road network. 5 million has been allocated for the design and construction of a 4-lane road from the Soso Junction to Lotoka to improve the travel time. Mr. Speaker, sir, the ministry is taking on the initiative to create a comprehensive national approach to road infrastructure issues affecting us all. We wish to reduce, if not eliminate, repetitive expenditures on fixing roads and related assets. The Ministry of Disaster Management and Meteorological Services plays an important role in our country. It has been allocated a total budget of 12.8 million for the year, and of this amount, 8.8 million is for operating expenditures and 4 million for capital. 400,000 for the purchase of specialized equipment for Lotoka Lodala Weather Forecasting Center, 138,000 for the Geosustainable Operational Environmental Satellite System upgrades, 50,000 for awareness activities around the DRR policy, 800,000 for disaster relief and rehabilitation funds, 1.8 million for the upgrade and maintenance of evacuation centers, 200,000 for upgrade of outer island stations on Viwa and Undu Point, and 265,000 for the installation of water level and rainfall telemetry equipment. Mr. Speaker, so I know I have finished my time, but in conclusion, I have not talked about the works component of my ministry, but I wish to thank the Minister for Economy and the government for the work smart budget that calls for the 4 E's of leadership. 4 E's of leadership, and that's what we have. We have energy, we energize the people that work for us so they can find new solutions. We have the edge to make tough decisions, and we will execute on our plans. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Speaker, sir.
I thank you.
Thank you, sir. Point of order.
Honourable Whip, you have the floor.
I did not want to interrupt the Honourable Minister, but I just wish to refer to Standing Order 62 in terms of a prohibited reference and ask the Honourable Minister as well as members to refrain from using the word bollocks as it literally translates into an appendage of a man's body that's actually vulgar. That is actually vulgar, Honourable Speaker, and is not a good example to set for those that are watching and listening, especially our children. Even if it's used as a slang, it is still, its original meaning is an appendage. And I ask Honourable Speaker, please. Thank you. It is an offensive word, Honourable Speaker. I find it offensive, Honourable Speaker, under Standing Order 62.
Honourable Whip,
Thank you.
who are you making your point of order to?
The Honourable Minister who just spoke was using the word bollocks, and I'm asking if that could be withdrawn and that the ruling comes from the Honourable Speaker that members not use that term in the future as it is offensive.
Bollocks is permissible. There's nothing wrong with it. There's another word with B which is not permitted, and I won't tell you which one it is.
Well, Honourable Speaker, I do suggest we use hogwash. It is the same meaning but not as vulgar, Honourable Speaker.
But
Thank you.
it might not sound as nicely as he wants to put it, but it's permissible. There is the other B word that... Now, where was I? Oh, he's there. Honourable members, I give the floor to the Honourable Asheri Renaud. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I stand to join my colleagues in responding to the Financial Bill number 7 of 2019. And I also join my colleagues in opposing this bill. But before I deliberate further into my response this afternoon, just like to request the Honourable Minister to inform the House if he was aware of the water cut that just happened. Or in a better wording, he must inform the House that there was going to be a water cut. Otherwise, all that speeches was an absolutely bollock. Mr. Speaker, sir, to begin with, in my response to the budget, I'd like to reiterate the words of fellow politicians on his descriptions about long-term, smart, and sustainable budgeting. And I quote, "If you want creativity, take a zero off your budget. If you want sustainability,